Good day, everyone, and welcome to JK Michael's Knowledge Series. Today, we are going to address measuring financial health. Now, before you can improve your financial position, one of the first things that needs to be put in place is your understanding of where you stand. If you don't know where you are, you cannot plan your future. If you don't know your position, your current position, then you cannot do a relative measurement of where you want to go against where you are coming from. So there are three things to keep in mind. Number one, where am I coming from? Number two, where am I, which is measuring my current level of progress. Now, where I am will give me some kind of relative positioning towards my destination. What is my goal? Right. So when I understand where I am, I can now again understand how much progress do I need to make towards my goal. And that's the next thing we're going to do. But now that we have understood what personal finance is and the importance of financial literacy in helping us to be able to achieve our goals and avoid financial mistakes, the next thing we must figure out is how to assess our financial health and our current financial position. And this is the area where we're going to talk about net worth, assets and liabilities, income and expenses, savings and investments, returns and taxes, and how they affect our financial position. But before we do a deep dive into these areas, let us consider some of the common money mistakes people make so that we can evaluate ourselves and correct negative money habits if we happen to have them. Well, the first one is not planning. Avoiding common money mistakes. Number one, not planning. If you find yourself procrastinating on personal finances, okay, I'm going to save, but I will save tomorrow. I'm going to plan, but maybe I shouldn't plan now. Let me plan next week. I make poor that will lead towards accumulated debt, poor investment decisions, and missed opportunity. It's very important that we prioritize planning our finances to be able to achieve our financial goals. Number two, overspending. Now, there are two ways your budget can happen. You can end up with savings or you can end up with a deficit. You end up with a saving if your spending, your expenditure is lower than your income is equal to a saving. You end up with a deficit if your expenditure is greater than your income. Savings are the first step into your road to financial freedom because it helps you to be able to accumulate capital, right? And be able to invest for the what multiplication of what capital or wealth, right? So that's the second bad habit, overspending. The third bad habit is buying on with consumer credit. You're using credit to buy things like shoes, buy things like bags, buy things like clothing, financial items, it's not financial items, fashion items, um, automobiles, right? Consumer items. It's terrible, right? Because what that does is that you are increasing your future debt obligation on things that will not generate a return, right? In the end, use credit for purchases such as purchase of a new bag, purchase of designer clothes, purchase of a new car, purchase of you know, things that generally do not generate income, assets that do not appreciate. Well, what you do is that you are encouraging your spending beyond affordability because what you're invested in or what you're using your money to buy, or sorry, the debt you're collecting is not used to invest in assets that have a rate of return that is bigger than the interest rate. So what we are doing is we're just what spending and spending away from our levels of what affordability. So we would never use credit or loans or debt to purchase anything that is what consumer items, right? Anything that will increase future debt obligation without what reducing or providing a means by a rate of return to what pay back that debt obligation. Another thing is what delaying savings for retirement. It's very important that we begin saving towards retirement as early as possible. If we delay it, maybe we begin to do retirement-based savings towards our 40s and 50s. We might find ourselves in a very terrible situation. There will be difficulties in reaching our retirement goals, and we might not even be able to claim sufficient what tax protection, right? So it's very important that we start as early as possible. Another weakness is falling prey to financial sales pitches. Again, there is always going to be a likelihood that some financial guru, financial salesperson, someone selling financial products or services, could be books, could be um investment services or investment options, would attempt to pressure us. Okay, so you drop this money in the next 1 month, you get 25% return on investment. Learn to avoid pressure tactics, unrealistic promises, and unqualified advisors. Do your research on every investment opportunity. If you don't understand the business or how it makes money, or you have a gut feeling that this isn't right, please don't put your money into it. Once it's complicated, it takes a lot of stories and it's a very convoluted process to be able to generate some sort of return. If people avoid telling you specifics in a very simple way on how this investment is going to generate return, if it doesn't even make sense to you, please don't put your money down. Even then, collect information and seek what second opinions from people who are qualified enough to see errors or mistakes in this. Another mistake is not doing your homework. Always make sure you do your due diligence, shop around when you are looking for financial products or financial services or how to spend your money, even if it is not even financial products or services. Make sure you shop around, read review, seek objective advice, right? If you are seeking for financial products or services, know the references. Where's this person coming from? What's his background? What's his track record? It's very important to understand that, right? Informed decisions will reduce the risk of what? Poor financial choices. And then making decisions based on emotions. Now, when people go into major life changes, I get married, I have children, in the middle of a very big project, this exerts stress on the mind and the emotions. And a lot of times, people generally tend to go off their expectations and start making what? Impulse buying financial decisions. A lot of times, simply being in an uncharted territory can lead to making uncharted or unplanned decisions because, of course, you're in a position you never thought you would be, right? And okay, so a man is married, and for a couple of years they've not had children, and then maybe on the third or the fourth year they have triplets. Now, triplets are not the cheapest. They're not the easiest assets, let's call them assets, to maintain. You understand? They need to be fed, they need to be clothed, they need to be educated, even though you're not educating them right from the womb. But that's already mounting some sort of pressures on the mind, right? That's a major life change, right? And a lot of times that can lead to throwing all your plans through the window. You want to make sure that you are not making decisions based on emotions or stress. Keep your emotions out of your financial planning and decisions. Delay decisions when you feel pressure. If you need to review your financial plan, then review it, right? When you are as low-headed as possible and seeking, of course, as much qualified counsel as you can. Not separating the wheat from the chaff is another mistake. If you don't know how to distinguish between credible sources of financial information or financial products and services from non-credible ones, you're likely going to make a lot of mistakes. Very important that you would establish your own background or your own risk management system by what? Acquiring basic fundamental knowledge on finances, how to source finance, how to how to source finance, how to earn money, how to manage money, and how to how to deal with all financial related issues, including tax. Educate yourself to manage your personal finances confidently and competently. And next, what? Exposing yourself to catastrophic risk. It's always important that we cultivate the habit of insuring properties that are very important to us, right? If you do not insure or save, if you don't save or you do not insure, then you're exposing yourself to a chance of what? Financial disruption, meaning that anything that happens to you, any uncertainty that is disruptive will certainly disrupt your financial operations. Why? Because there is no layer of protection. Insurance provides a layer of protection. Precautionary funds or emergency fund provides a layer of protection. Savings provide a layer of protections. If you don't have those layers of protections, then what you're doing is that you are exposed. Try not to be exposed. Make sure that you have sufficient coverage, enough money to take care of what? Income replacement in case you lose your income, and emergency funds. Another problem is what? Focusing too much on money, right? Now, one would think that a way to be financially aware or financially intelligent is to focus a lot on money. But the truth is, we do not earn money just for the purpose or for the sake of earning money. We earn money or we attempt to build wealth so that we can be able to enjoy our lives. In fact, if you remove the enjoyment or the pleasure of having wealth from the equation, there's really no need to accumulate wealth. So if I constantly have issues with my family, I'm a very terrible dad. I then suffer a divorce, which anyway has devastating financial consequences. Or I never take the time to rest. I work myself to the point where I break down, all because I'm chasing money. Then what do I gain? Even if I have the money stacked up to the roof, but my health is terrible. I can't even eat food that I enjoy. I can't perform activities that I love and I enjoy. It's very important to make sure that we properly balance our need to acquire wealth with our health, our relationship satisfaction in our career, and personal fulfillment. Because if we lose all of these things in pursuit of wealth, wealth will not be able to fill the gap or fill the space that would be what left by the absence of these things. And then we are on to determining financial net worth. Now, your financial net worth is just simply your statement of financial position, your personal statement of financial position. It helps us to be able to measure your monetary health. Where are you currently? Do you have what it takes to achieve your financial goals? Where are you with respect to your financial goals? So we often hear the word net worth used with respect to high net worth individuals, millionaires, billionaires, but everyone has a net worth. How do I know? Well, do you have financial assets, land, building, cash, savings, investments? What is the value of these assets? This forms your financial asset. And no matter how poor or how much within the middle class, not wealthy you are, chances are you have some assets. You have a phone, you have some savings, you have the money that comes in as your salary every month, right? With proper adjustments, you have your financial assets. And then you have what? Financial liabilities. Financial liabilities will be the debts you've taken, right? Obligations and expectations that you're supposed to what? Meet. In which kind of or anything you owe will be your financial liabilities. When you subtract what you owe from what you own, what you have is what? Your net worth. Now let's look at financial asset, your cash, bank statement or bank account, stocks, bonds, retirement account of four or retirement account, mutual funds, your businesses, the value of your businesses, and what? Real estate. You want to exclude personal residence unless you plan to sell or tap equity. You want to include things like what? Pension benefits as part of your assets. Do not include consumer as things like what? Cars, clothing, and electronic. These are what? Personal items, and you really cannot call them what you call them financial assets, right? Right now, so you want to include what? Financial assets, assets that can be able to generate returns or that can what? Easily be converted to cash and can be able to uh help you or put you in a good position, right? Now we have financial liabilities, all outstanding debts, credit card, car loans or auto loans, mortgages if your house or your home is counted as an asset, right? So if there is mortgage um, backing up your home ownership, and then what? Investment property debt and money owed to others. Liabilities are subtracted from assets to determine your net worth. So this is going to be your assets, right? Savings account, cash, and all of them. You put all of this together, put the value, and then you get the total assets. Benefits earned that pay a monthly retirement income, employer pensions, and social securities can be added to this, right? And then we have what? Our subtotals. And we're going to use a spreadsheet to do this in the next videos. And then we have what? Financial liabilities, your credit card debt, other kinds of debt, mortgages, and what have you would include them under liabilities, right? So when we have your total financial assets, which will add this subsection or subtotal to this subtotal, right? We're going to get our total assets, and then we're going to add up our liabilities and subtract our assets from our liabilities, right? So our total financial assets will be this, our total financial liabilities will be this. We'll subtract the assets or subtract our liabilities from assets, and we get our total net worth. So crunching the number, we're saying what? Calculate your financial assets using a detailed list of holdings and expected benefits. You list all your debts and loans to determine financial liabilities, and then you subtract your liabilities from assets to compute your net worth. Now, interpreting your net worth. Net worth is relative to personal lifestyle, your goals, and expectation. A negative net worth or a net worth less than half of your annual income means you need to take action, especially if you are aged above 30. You can't have zero net worth. You shouldn't have negative net worth. You can have zero, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't have zero net worth or negative net worth, meaning you have more debts than what? Assets. And also, you should not have a net worth that is smaller than your annual income. So calculate your annual income. If your net worth is less than half of it, then there's a problem. Low net worth in your early 20s is not so much of a problem. Yes, we should deal with it, but you want to do that by focusing on growth over time. When we get to 30s plus, then low net worth should be taken very, very seriously and be more concerning, right? Now, how do you improve your net worth? First of all, prioritize paying off your debt, focusing on your high interest debts, right? And then build a safety reserve equal to 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, right? Use that to be able to build up your savings and then implement a plan to reduce your spending, eliminate debt, and invest wisely for the future. Now, this is just a summary of how we can be able to evaluate and improve our financial net worth. In our next video, we're going to move beyond we're going to move beyond just all of this talk. We're going to have a spreadsheet and we're going to practically walk through the process of updating our assets, updating our liabilities, and calculating our net worth based on the collection of assets and liabilities. And then we would use that as a basis to evaluate what the next thing will be, depending on what our net worth turns out to be. I want to hope that you've enjoyed this process. I want to hope that you've learned a lot. I also want to hope that you are getting ready to evaluate your network, assess your net worth, and you're ready to move on this journey of improvement with us. Thank you very much for being a part of this class. I look forward to seeing you in our next class, and bye for now.